Thank you very much, Milano, and all the organizers of this wonderful event. It's my pleasure to be here to share and discuss some ideas with you. So I'm going to be talking about the conscious mind, brain, and body, conjoined twins or Siamese twins or no. Conjoined twins cases can enrich the philosophical reflections on the problem of personal identity. In particular, the role of the body, brain, and conscious mind, individually or together, in the constitution and continuity of the human person. Conjoined twins challenge us to think about some questions. For example, are we identical with something psychological, mental, or something biological? What matters from an ethical point of view? Is it the biological life or the conscious mind? Is it morally acceptable to sacrifice one twin to save the other? Being the case, can organ ownership be used as a justification for choosing who should survive? Who should decide the risks of treatment if patients themselves are unable to do it? I will go back to these questions later, but first I will focus on the first question. Are we identical with something psychological, mental, or something biological, based on two famous cases of the conjoined twins? The first one case is Abby and Brittany Hansen. In the article, this is what famously conjoined twins Abby and Brittany Hansen are today, in 2018. Monica Huntington presents the case of conjoined sisters Abby and Brittany Hansen. They are 20 years old, highlighting some aspects of their lives, which have been followed with interest since birth. Hansen sisters are dicephalous twins, what means that they have totally separate heads, sharing a single torso and lower body. Although they share numerous organs, such as the large intestine, the liver, and the reproductive system, each has its own heart, spine, lungs, stomach, kidneys, gallbladder. They also have separate immune systems, which means one can be infected with some virus while the other one remains immune. Each twin independently controls and feels on the arm and leg that belongs to her side of the body, meaning that they had to learn early how to coordinate their movements. Walk, for example. In a coordinated way, they are able to perform numerous activities such as cycling, piano playing, bowling, swimming, and even driving. I will show you some photos in a moment. To get a driver's license, they have to take the separated breathing exam, different from the practical tests where they had to control the steering wheel, each taking care of her side. They decide together what type of makeup and hair to wear and when to go to the bed. They send their emails and buy movie tickets separated. Although they wanted to attend different higher education courses, it was not possible. Attending one is so hard to for both. But would be a hard work. They decided to take the same course in education. Unable to pursue an individual career, they decided to become teachers by starting to teach classes to children in regular schools, sharing tasks such as exposing content and answering questions with observing students. There are many photos and videos. It's really amazing. When asked if they had two heads, children put this kind of question. They had two heads. The handsome sister replied that each has its own head. It suggests that for them the head is essential for their identities. Regarding their personalities, Abby is more outgoing and Brittany more reserved. They prefer different cuts and hair colors, as well as different shoe models. Their parents have treated them as two individuals. For example, not one punch both twins if just one break the rules. I don't know how is that possible. Regarding responsibility for the actions, the mother was unsure of what would happen, for example, if driving exceeds the permitted speed. Would they both get a fine or just Abby who controls the car total? At school they prefer different subjects. Abby enjoyed math while Brittany preferred to write, each having to do school assignments with individual assessments. While one drinks coffee to study at night, the other avoids it by speeding up their heartbeat. In celebrations of their birthdays, each one has its own cake. As the mother once said, I want the world to see Abby and Brittany as two individuals who have the same hopes and fears as any child of their age. This is a summary because there are many informations. Oh my gosh, photographs. I made a mistake. I don't know if you can see. Yes? Here is a skin. I don't have time to show this, but how the bodies are connected and how they share their organs. And so it's very interesting, but unfortunately I don't have time to talk. So let me talk a little bit about the case too. Krista and Tatiana Hogan. This is an amazing case. In the article, Could Conjoined Twins Share Mind? Susan Dominus reports a meeting with Canadian twins Krista and Tatiana Hogan, who are then 4 years old. The striking fact is that, in addition to having their heads united, natural term, so as connected with the fathers. Krista and Tatiana also have their brains connected by the thalamus. Thalamic bridge, according to the words of the neurosurgeon Jonas Gonçalves. Being the thalamus a sort of distribution board, an organ located in both lobes, which filters out most sensory inputs and has long been regarded as essential for neural loops that create consciousness, its functioning as a relay station would explain the fact that the sensory impulse received by one of the girls cross the bridge and reach the other brains, allowing them to experience similar sensation, although just one received the stimulation through their own sensory organ. Just one get the stimulation, and the other one, because of this thalamic bridge, have a similar experience. Cochrane believes that girls share some sensory impressions based on experiments such as the one he did when the girls were only 2 years old. These experiments consisted of covering Krista's eyes by placing electrodes on her scalp, which emitted a strong electrical response from the occipital lobe during the time when Tatiana's eyes were stimulated by the strobe light. The same result was found when the girls switched roles. According to Cochrane, the connection between the two brains of core or something like that. visual input and enters in one's girl retina, hits her thalamus, and takes different pulses with electricity traveling along a wire and splitting tube. In the girl who is looking at the stroke or stuffed animal, the visual input continues in its usual ways, including what ends in the visual cortex. In the other girl's case, the visual stimulus would reach the hypothalamus, cross the thalamic bridge, and then travel through her visual neural circuit, ending at the sophisticated processing centers of her own visual cortex. Then she sees probably milliseconds after her sister. Situations reported by the twins family, for example, laughter from one sister over a particular scene on a television show being watched only by the other sister. One of the girls who doesn't like ketchup tries to whip her tongue, while only the other ones ingesting and savoring it with pleasure. One hates the other loves the ketchup. Susan Domino says that during the time she spent with her family, she accidentally touched the foot of one of the sleeping girls, and the other girl, who was not watching the scene, looked at her smiling and asked her to do it with her, as if she wanted to have, in addition to feeling, the thrill of being directly touched. Dominoes have also witnessed one of the girls making movements in her own language, trying to remove the thermometer that had in fact been placed on the other sister's tongue. Important to note that the twins have their heads positioned in such a way that one cannot look in the same direction as the other, so they cannot simultaneously see the same things. Dominoes presents the issue of identity as considered by the twins, how they see themselves, their identity. What they mean by me. For example, when the girls share the same visual stimulus through the thalamic connection because they are unique individuals, each experiences them differently. They will have parallel experience, but none of them would have any kind of mixed consciousness. Dominoes also claims that she has never witnessed the girls referring to themselves using the pronoun we instead of me. Quoting Professor of Psychiatry and Neurology Feinberg, Dominoes says that it is as if they are one and two people at the same time. After all, unlike other people who cannot directly observe the minds of others, but only the others their own, the two girls can each feel what the other feels. They share some experience. As Feinberg also says, referring to the taste experience shared by the girls while sipping the juice, this is beyond empathy. It's like a metasensory experience. It is as if one were conscious and could witness the conscience of the other. The professor also says that unlike patients who have both parts of the brain separated to the damage to corpus callosum, which despite the division of the brain feels and acts as a whole, Krista and Tatiana also linked, each acts as a whole. This is what the family thinks for whom they are. Two normal girls who spend their lives sharing a bubble, sometimes clashing with opposing desires, as when one wants the other eats something that only one of them likes. In a recent documentary, 2017, they are older, and we see the same sharing experience and things like that. In 2017, the commentator has said what had already been attended in 2011 article, namely that despite the similarities in the sharing of sensory information, the girls are two distinct individuals. According to her mother, Tatiana is the leader, who does everything for both, while Krista has a quiet self remaining in her shell. In this respect, Crane says, it amazes me how much they are the same and how different they are. On the girls' side birthday, the mother bakes 2 cakes and justifies they are individual girls.
Essas são as canadenses.
They cannot look at the same direction. So,
But the other, the Canadian twins.
Canadians was the first. No, yes, the Canadian. Yes. Well, just to have an idea, but there are many photos and films on the internet. Because they have been followed by a long time since they was born. Okay, let me now, after summarizing the stories, let me say something about that based on some discussion among philosophers of this case. First, I will briefly summarize what I'm calling the phenomenological approach. First, after that, an ontological approach, so I'd like to discuss some points. In the article, The Experience of Body Boundaries by Siamese Twins, Craig Murray proposes to discuss the phenomenal experience of body boundaries of Siamese twins in relation to issues of self and identity. This group of individuals was strategically chosen since, as they experience body limits ambiguously, share tactile sensations as well as the ability to move shared limbs, they experience their body as sensorily and spatially extended in that of the twin. Because they share part of the body surface, and they also share organ and organs, as well as having areas of sensation and joint motion, they are examples in which individuality is problematic. The distinction between self and other is ambiguous. Normal individuals have a sensory, tactile, and optical experience of their skin-covered body, and an experience of being able to move their limbs, which provides them with perceptive feedback from their bodies extended in space, an information that contributes to the integration of a body image or skin, which supports an experience of physical individuality and distinction between self and non-self. In contrast, the connection between Siamese twins is not just two intimately close individuals. Moreover, it's a more intimate connection between self and other, which is not restricted to the fusion between surface areas of two bodies, also including tactile, proprioceptive structures and anatomical, which produces the experience of self to the other. By sharing areas of common sensation and being able to control limbs experience, thus the authorship of split action, the author argues that each twin has an appendage-like quality to his united twin, in which his bodily skins incorporate common areas of sensitivity into an ambiguous body image. Murray, quoting says that one's own body consciousness comes from bodily sensations and gives them a sense of ownership. As in the case of pain, that's felt to happen in part of one's own body and not in someone else's body. But it is precisely this distinction between own body and alien body that is an issue in the case of the Siamese twins, who, as numerous accounts attest, share the most diverse sensory experiences. Points to be highlighted here is that the twins had an area of their joint bodies where they had a common sensation. Quoting Brian Murray highlights the role for the sense of ownership of the body and the consequent distinction between own body and alien body based on the sense of authorship related to bodily action, which involves the voluntary or intentional production of physical events, including successful or unsuccessful attempts to implement bodily motion. And movements occur without this intentional component, and action cannot be said to have occurred. Okay. Oh, let's talk about an ontological approach of the identity body in the brain. I choose this guy, both guys. The article Conjoined Things, Philosophical Problems and Ethical Challenges. Julian Savulescu and the person address the question of the constitution of our identity. The author refers to the theory that we are identical with our consciousness, our mind, and those areas of our brains that support our consciousness or minds. It's one theory. The other theory is we are identical with our whole organism or human body. The difference between these two approaches is illustrated from the thought experiments involving the transplantation of brain areas that support consciousness or conscious minds to another twin body or organism in which these parts of the brain are missing. Whereas after successful surgery, there will be in the recipient part of the brain, the recipient part of the brain, someone who, with the memories, interests, personality traits, etc., previously presents in the donor body. The interpretations would be as follows: to have the possibility of brain transplantation, according to transplantation. According to psychological theories, the person in the receiving body would be the I, or the donor body, which would have the parts of the brain that support consciousness or mind given to the new body. This will be an extreme case of organ donation. You would have received not only a new heart, new kidney, but a whole new body, excluding those areas of the brain that support your psychology. So, in fact, I am my brain, I am receiving a new body. Differently, the other conception, according to the biological theories, the self would not follow the parts of the brain responsible for consciousness or mind, but it would be with the donor body. And this is because we are identical with our human body or organism. And this body or organism is now the one that is separated from the supporting brain parts of the mind. This is the other theory, our biological theory. These different approaches to identity imply different positions on the issue of identity in the case of the twins who have two conscious minds but only one organism. such as the thorax-spinous twins, the first kid, who have most of the torso united, sharing many organs. According to psychological theories, there are unquestionably two of us sharing organs in most of the human body. According to biological theories, there is only one of us with two minds. I don't have time here to discuss the problem of if there are one person, two persons. It's a different question. Because in this case, both sides agree that they have two minds, conscious minds. They don't agree that they are two persons, but they agree that they have two minds, individual conscious minds. Salapesco and Person makes explicit their option for brain psychological theories by proposing and answering the following question: what is most important for you? What matters most for you? That your mind goes on functioning and is conscious in the new organism, or that your old organism continues to be biologically alive? The answer, what they think, it is much more important that our minds, conscious minds, continue to be conscious, that our organism continues to be alive. Just as most of us would be ready to receive a new heart if this was necessary to stay alive, many of us, the authors include, and myself too, I agree completely, would be ready to receive a whole new body if this was necessary to keep our minds functioning. What is most important to us, when they say, is our conscious existence. That our minds continue to have experience rather than that the biological life of our organisms goes on. So, going back to the challenging questions, based on these cases and these considerations, are we identical with something psychological, mental, or something biological? I believe that in some sense both. But I'm privileging the brain because I consider that the conscious mind is a property of the brain. So it is the brain that has conscious mind. At this moment, who's seeing you, who's talking, who's initiating the action is Jonas' brain. And the conscious mind is a property of the conscious brain, a property that gives the brain possibilities and capabilities that the brain would not have without the conscious mind. It's an evolutionary point of view. But the brain is embodied, so the brain has the experience of the body and the experience of the environment through the body. So all the information comes from the body to the brain. We have in our brain a map of our body. So everything phenomenologically experience our body in the environment, but who is the experience is the brain. I'm not saying that the brain is the most important. I'm saying that the brain has a function that other parts of the body and different from the other parts of the body. And at the end of the day, I think that if you consider all organs of our body, each one of them is embodied and situated. They depend on the other, but each one has their function, a special function. And the brain has a function, billions and billions, trillions of connection, really broken. So, what matters from an ethical point of view?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. What matters from an ethical point of view? Is it the biological life or the conscious mind? I'm finished. 3 minutes. What matters from an ethical point of view? Is the biological life or the conscious mind? Okay. The conscious mind does not exist without the brain. But, so, if you consider an ethical point of view, let's think about the cases of the first case of twins. Maybe one day they will live a big tragedy. Let's suppose that one brain has a stroke and die. What will happen? There are many questions involved in this case because sometimes they have many health problems and probably they will die. And in some cases maybe would have the possibility of one survive, the other one dies. And but they have to kill one. And it's a conscious mind. So all the problems here, ethical problems, are related to the fact that they have two brains and two conscious minds. Because if one of them, for example, the brain dies, they have no more conscious mind. And it would be possible to cut one head, probably there was no ethical problem because the other one is dead. So the brain and the conscious mind makes all the difference. Let's suppose that I have a twin head. But my twin head does not have a brain and the conscious mind. This ethical problem will not appear, problematic. This kind of not appears. So I am considering that most part of course, the body is very important, but in some sense our body is contingent because if it was possible to move my brain to another body, I would go with my brain. It's not wouldn't be possible to separate myself, conscious mind, from my brain, but it would be possible, at least in principle, to separate my brain, at least myself, and my body. This is the idea. So, in the end of the day, maybe most of these actual problems are placed because of the existence of the mind and the brain, the conscious mind as a product of the brain. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much. I have so many questions. Organized them in my single mind. Had I two brains, it would be eventually easier. As for the first case, just curiosity, do they talk to each other? Do they disagree linguistically?
Yes.
Okay, that's
They
just what I want to know.
show that they have different preferences. One is more going, the other one is more shy, and they have differences. They have to agree, for example, what to study, what kind of course. One prefers math, the other wants to write, and they have important difference.
All right, that's all. Actually,
Do they fight? Do they fight?
I'm just wondering because I usually defend that the body is constitutive of the mind as much as the body, as much as the brain, and this is not your vision. I understand that, and I imagine if this view that I believe is actually the case, would that imply that a brain transformation wouldn't ever succeed? Would that imply that if we try to take the brain from one person and put it in a new body, this wouldn't work? And yeah, but you think it would, right? But I'm kind of skeptical about that.
Yeah, I think because I believe that our memories, our desires, everything is based on the brain. But of course, our brain is embodied. And even when we have an experience of our body, who has the experience of the body is the brain. Okay? So, for example, it's possible if I lose a part of my body, okay? We could feel pain in my hand, for example, even if I don't have my pain anymore. Why that happens? Because what is happening in the brain is some changes after losing my hand, and we have a map of a motor sensor mapping our brains on our body. So this map is reorganizing when we lose some parts of our body. Our brain starts changing. For example, if there are some experiences with volunteers who start for some time, for example, 1 month without seeing anything, using some kind of. After that time, if you see the brain functioning on fMRI gadget and fMRI, you see that that part of the brain dedicated to visual starts not working so violent and things like that. I don't think that is a problem, because I'm not saying that the body, of course, with it, think from an evolutionary point of view, the brain, the body, and the environment, it's not possible to separate them, but they have different functions. This is what the brain does, the heart doesn't do, and the other parts of it. So the diseases, Alzheimer's disease, many diseases show that when the brain is affected, lesion after accidents, the brain is affected, we lose memories, we lose capacities, we lose the capacity to feel our body. And there are tragic cases when people are not able to move their bodies, kind of syndrome of encarceramento, lock-in syndrome. The body is not able, but there is someone there living and having many experiences. They are trying to find ways to communicate with these people because they don't have any kind of motor activity. And they are trying to communicate, measure activities in the brain, and to see a way to communicate with these people. The body, of course, they feel things happen with us. So it's not, I'm not defending a hierarchy. I'm defending different functions. What part of the brain does? This is the idea. So in principle, people are talking about transplants of heads. Of course, with the brain, their brain. So there's a possibility also.
Can we increase the problems? Just showed a question about what kind of consciousness we are talking about, because in the second case of twins that we mentioned, they seem to share the same kind of access consciousness. They receive the same information in some way, feeding information, but they have sensations, different sensations. So, it seems like they have the same consciousness of access, but since they have two different consciousness of phenomenal consciousness.
Sometimes they have similar, based on the experience of the other one, the ones that have rich.
Yeah.
They share some experience sometimes. Okay? Sometimes their reaction are different, but because one has a phenomenal experience, some kind, the other one have similar experience. They share this phenomenal experience sometimes because of this bridge, talent bridge.
So I want to clear up what you concluded from your first question. So if I'm not confusing was the question. But it doesn't seem like the cases might actually help you solve that issue because
The question?
it doesn't seem like the cases will actually help you solve that question or find an answer to it. Because if we adopt your perspective that the relevant biological part is the brain, and the first twin, each of them has a brain, and in the case of the second twins, even though it seems that there is a connection, there is a large biological separation. So it seems like in both cases, they have two brains and two consciousness, if you wish.
Individual conscious mind.
Yeah, so how would these cases help you solve the first question?
In fact, I think that this case shows that how the brain is important to the experience because the connection happens on the brain. Okay, so they have the experience of the body. Sometimes they are linked, sometimes they are emergent, the body is emergent. So the phenomenological approach shows sometimes it's not like us, it's a more complex process because they command parts of the body, links and experience. So it's not like us. But even so, we have two brains, two conscious minds, experience the bodies in a distinct and different way. But in the case of canonical bridge, show that you have this connection between the brain's connection of information, how important the brain is.
So your answer is, well, both aspects are important.
Are important, but in this case, when we are talking about our identity and privileging the brain, we are a conscious mind. Who is conscious? A conscious mind is the brain. Conscious mind. So the brain is the who has experience and who takes decision. The brain is the agent. In the conscious mind, this is the point we need a lot of time to discuss, but I think that the conscious mind is like a guide to the brain. It's like it's a property, it's not a substance, it's a property of the brain. And the brain uses the conscious mind as a guide to action. So, for example, my vision, the brain uses the vision to access the world. And this is a tool of action in the world. So the visual consciousness is for the brain a guide, but not the visual. I believe that not just the conscious, the visual, all kinds of sensations, but not just all kinds of sensations. It leads, desires, everything operates. Consciousness operates as a guide to the brain. So how to act? The brain uses her beliefs to decide how to act. So the conscious mind, because of this, I think that the education, all these things are very important because they change the brain, but give the brain tools to act on the world. So I think that the brain is the agent to this. The conscious mind is like a guide of the action of like a phenotype that allow the brain to act successfully in the environment. I've been working on this.
I will agree with her because this case, we don't need this case to like, if I open my skull and start to move things out of my brain, of course my experience will change, or I will die, or something else. So we know, we don't need this case to know that the brain is the main organ of the that's related to consciousness. So every mind-body problem will not change a bit because of this case. Like it's not related in this case because I don't need this case to discuss my body problem. So the million discussion of mind-body problem, all that we discuss in this case, I can discuss in my case without any twin. You know, so this is not proof of nothing. The mind-body problem will be the same, don't change a bit. So, and about the ethical issues, true, the ethical issues will be the same too. Because if you get two persons in the life of one person, depending of the other persons, you will be in the same position as the two girls. So even the ethical issues don't change a bit. If you get two separate human beings.
Yes, but sometimes this problem is not in our situation, and in this case it's a dramatic problem.
Yeah, but
But of course, I'm not talking about the mind-body problem here. It's not my issue. Okay, and I agree with you. I agree with you. We don't need these examples to show that the brain is the guy.
Jonas, that's very interesting and challenging stuff. I would like to just to test if I got a point of sharing of sensorial experience. In the case of the Canadian twin, suppose that one decided to move her hands and to touch the surface, say, velvet. The proprioceptions are part of the.
So this one has a tactile sensation.
Yeah, but the proprioceptions are part of the sensorial experience.
The proprioception?
Proprioceptions, kinesthetic sensations.
Okay.
Okay, when I move my body, I know I'm moving my body. I have sensation associated with motor processes. But when I touch something, I have the sensations, specific to the kind of stuff I'm touching.
Yeah.
So, which part? Both parts are shared by the both part of that sensorial experience, or just the sensation of touching with velvet. The phenomenological description say something about that?
Yeah, they say something about that. They talk about some experience of hitting something or touching something, one touch, and this one feel that tactile sensation, and the other one feel too, same tactile sensation because of this thalamic reach. But doesn't mean that it's universal. They give some examples. But there are, these girls are protected, they have been followed by scientists and doctors. Okay? So they present some examples of situations and they share some visual experience or tactile experience and things like that. So, I don't know if how can be generalized. I don't know. But there are situations, and they give examples of sharing experiences, sensations.
Usually,
Tactile things that they are
both parts
they are
strongly
and
associated.
some things that they are eating, flavor, some food, and sometimes that they are watching. One of them is watching TV, and there is something funny, and the other one was thinking about the other things because the heads don't share. Looks like the other one feels something like that. In this case, they are young. So maybe nowadays, I think 12 years, something like that. I'm not sure. Probably, sometime it will be possible to get more detailed information about how they feel, how they share information.
I'm just wondering here that there must be some kind of system of prioritizing phenomenal experiences. Like we, for example, if we are stepping on a cold floor, but there are so many things going on, we don't even feel that, so there must be something that they do feel and something that...
But
that must be
do you
weird
remember?
to receive the sensory experience of touching the elephant, for example, but without the corresponding sensation, proprioception.
Without proprioception?
Without
Ah, okay.
when you move, the kinesthetic sensations. Both part of these things are sure or not.
There is no information because
No.
probably because the most part of this is they were young. So, maybe, but there is just to finish one very interesting. That one when the girls were 2 years old and the eye of one of them was stimulated and it was possible to see the activity of both girls of the occipital part of the brain as if both were stimulated by the visual and just one stimulated with one eye. So because of this, start to bridge.
Obrigado.